Another season gone. Another West Coast Eagles campaign over. Nest family, thanks so much for being with us to sum up another year of the West Coast Eagles, the club that we love, but the club that is testing us a little bit more often than not at the moment. Drew Jones, nice to be with you. It's another season gone for the Nest. It's happened all pretty quickly, but I think this is our third season we've completed.
Flying by. So we started in 2020, the week leading up to the first final, which we lost by a point to Collingwood. Is that correct?
I think it was late 2020, yeah.
So an idea born out of endless free time during COVID, which is now shrunk to neither of us having any free time whatsoever. And here we are. I'm eating lunch in a suit. I've just walked back into the office and have 27 things on my to-do list, but I put the Nest first, apart from the butter chicken that I'm eating right now. So funny old season, I reckon. If we're trying to sum it up, there were some moments where I was really enjoying watching the West Coast Eagles play football, and I've not felt that way for a couple of years, and some times where it was utterly disgusting. So a real mixed bag for the boys.
Yeah, I thought we'd just start by summing up the season on the whole. We'll look at some of the player positives, some player analysis that really got us going throughout the season. Some of the disappointments as well from a playing point of view we'll look at. We'll look at the likely delistings, the trade period, which is very active for us at the moment, and then the coaching situation at the end. So the season on the whole for mine, I think it's hard to say it's positive when you only win 5 games, but we only won 3 the year before. And there was so much talk that the Eagles are going to get worse before they get better. Well, we didn't. We did improve, but not by much. And we also sacked our coach. So tumultuous yet again. There were some high points, but some dark moments. I mean, how do you rate it? Like C-, D+, that sort of range, probably D+ overall for a club of, our repute with high expectations. The fact that we went to an interim coach situation for the first time in our history, which is so unusual for us. So, yeah, it's a hard one to sum up, but there were some high points. And I do feel like, even though it wasn't the biggest step, we did move forward in the right direction, albeit slowly.
The inconsistency of the application of effort and ultimately the skills and structures and player performance, the fluctuations was the frustration of the season, wasn't it? Because when we sat down and did podcasts at the start of the year in the first couple of weeks and in the lead into the season, I think every West Coast fan, and certainly between us, we would agree on what we want is consistent effort. We want to see green shoots. We want to see improvement. We want to see competitiveness. We want to be able to sit down and trust that our team is going to be in the game, in the fight. We got that for periods of the season, but just not all the time. So that's the step forward that we're looking for. And it felt like sometimes it was 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And yeah, we saw some green shoots, probably not unexpectedly from Harley, but ultimately a season where you're forced to sack your coach is never a good season. So for me, it's a D.
Yeah, B+ is probably where it sits. I mean, the Melbourne and Fremantle wins were great. The Gold Coast and North Melbourne wins were awesome. There just wasn't a whole lot else around that, unfortunately. And so, yeah, we've got a long, long way to go. And it feels like, it's an exciting time for the club. I'm as enthused as an Eagles fan as I can ever remember because of the journey we're on right now. I'm loving it. I'm loving the storylines around our club. I'm loving watching the team each week, even if we are disappointed from time to time. There is a worry, though, Drewy. It's such an important time for the club because if we don't get it right, which we have done every other time we've been tested in our history, if we don't quite get it right, and there's no guarantee that we're going to jump back up straight away. And then that excitement fades and then your club is damaged a bit. Only have to look at Essendon. You only have to look at Carlton. And do you reckon the Essendon Carlton fan in the late 90s or 2000s really worried about their future? What would they have said back then? We'll be right. We're Essendon. We're Carlton. We'll be back up there soon. Well, they haven't been. So, I think we've always got to be cautious of that. And therefore, it's such a critical time, despite, on my point of view, there being so much excitement around the journey that we're on right now.
And I think you have been spot on in your analysis that that sort of complacency and lethargy in running the football club and the expectation that West Coast will always compete, will always play finals. That's ultimately what has cost us and put us in a tough position now. And so that sort of attitude just cannot be accepted. And all of these key appointments, all of these decisions that are being made in the next 2 months overall in terms of trade and draft and a new coach, like these are absolutely pivotal in launching us into what could be a quick rebuild or what could see us down in the muck and in the mire for quite a while. So it feels like a really critical time in West Coast history as we build towards another flag, a fifth flag in the club's history, which is hopefully going to come in the next bracket of, 4 to 8 years. Hopefully there's multiple. So yeah, I think I'm intrigued, interested in the directions that we go and the things that happen. And yeah, I think that creates a bit of excitement as well.
Yeah. So let's go through some of the positives from a playing point of view. Like, well, what stood out for you? What really excited you throughout the season in terms of individuals? I'll pick out a few and you can chime in and add your own. I'm going to start with Brady Hough. I reckon that was as positive a player development story for the Eagles this season. I think we feel as if we've got a genuine star in our midst with Brady Hough. Like, it's ridiculous that he wasn't even mentioned when it came to, the 22 under 22, whatever it is, however you phrase it. Like, I'm not saying he should have definitely been in because there's a lot of good players in that team, but like not even cracking a mention. The amount of small forwards, medium forwards that he shut down this season in a losing team. Like, this guy is going to be one of our very best. And I reckon he was just about the most pleasing on-field story this season, maybe after Jake Waterman, who obviously went to, superstar level. Because he's so young, Brady Hough, and he plays down back in a struggling team, it's right up there for us.
Yeah, I mean, comical that he didn't make that squad considering the overall picture of the entire competition. He's probably up there in terms of one of the best shutdown, versatile sort of hybrid defenders. So the fact that he wasn't squeezed into that team is quite strange. And I like him and you love him because it feels like we've nabbed one.
Yes.
And he's ours. Like, it's like no one else is talking about Brady Hough, hence the lack of, recognition that he's getting from an AFL holistic point of view. But we know he's good. He's ours. Like, Brady Hough is just going to cruise along and be a gun for us for the next 12 years. And it's going to be a minimum fuss situation. Like, is he out sort of the next, he's not the same sort of player, but it's sort of the next Brad Shepherd, where it's like he could probably be All-Australian every year, but he may not actually get that recognition.
Yeah, I think he's very Brad Shepherd-like. They're so similar. Does he step up into the midfield a little bit more? He's got leadership potential when you look at how composed he is, how well he deals with big tasks handed to him. He's just a gem. So, yeah, he's been one of the real shining lights of our season. Harley Reid, of course, we don't need to say anything more about that, but we've spoken so much about him. We've got the poster boy of the club moving forward, hopefully, and hopefully we can lock him down to a longer term deal. But some of the moments he provided this season were all-time Eagles moments. We've discussed that already. So that's right up there for us in terms of positives. Elliot Yeo just getting through a large part of the season injury-free and back to his best. I mean, wasn't that great to see?
Yeah, he's such a fun player to watch when he's in that beast mode, when he's playing good footy, and he is such a valuable player. My goodness, the diversity of the roles that he can play for us. Like, he can be a ball winner, he can stand on someone at stoppage, he can tear packs apart, he can kick goals, he can drift back and help defensively. A genuine wrecking ball when he's fit and firing. God, it's been good. And so much of what was good about our team, in the first half of the year was based around him. As much as the talk was around Harley, we kept saying it. We banged on about it. It's like Elliot Yeo as a running mate for Harley Reid, who's doing these amazing things. Like, that duo is what was elevating us. And and made us a genuinely good team for a few weeks at least. And I look back at the Sydney Gather Round game. I look back on that game quite fondly at Mount Barker because we'd started the season pretty shabbily, and we were coming off losing to the Swans by club record margin, and it felt a bit ominous. And Reid had that game, and he banged his chest, and Yeo played well, and and that was when it was like, oh, hang on, like we're not too bad, like we're okay, we can compete. We've got a bit of fortitude. I thought that game was really important for us. It obviously launched into some wins, and then that Melbourne win. Like, I felt very differently about us over that 6-week period. Obviously, we weren't able to hold it together, but Yeo was a massive part of that. And obviously, a couple of niggly injuries, and probably, he slows down a little bit in the second half of the year due to the workload, which he hasn't had over the past few years. But, great that he's re-signed. And he re-signed at a great time for him when he was playing good footy, but crucial that we locked him away. So great bounce back year from Elliot Yeo. Does he win the best and fairest? I guess him and McGovern sort of run it pretty close, maybe with Waterman, but he's certainly going to be up there.
I think those three, and there's a gap to the rest. Then it's those three. I think will be close. But Yeo and Gov, I reckon, neck and neck, and Jake right with them. Then there's a gap to probably TK, Hoffy, and Harley Reid, I'm thinking.
Yep.
That'd probably be the next three in a bracket, and then Duggo around the mark, something like that. So Tommy Barrass will poll pretty well. So he'll be right up there for another John Worsfold medal, which would be a great story. Harry Edwards is one that I think in the second half of the season really altered the way that everyone looked at our backline moving forward and what we need to do. I think he's the major reason why we've decided to trade Tommy Barrass. I really think it is. Like, if Harry Edwards doesn't come on, we're mulling this over. I think because he did, and he looked so lean and strong, we went, well, we've got to trade TB. We kept Tom Barrass out of the last 2 games. I'm certain of that. He could have played, but we were so set on trading, and he wanted to go as well. He wants a new challenge, and that's fine. And he's an Eagles great, and it feels like the ultimate win-win situation. But Harry Edwards' emergence has given the Eagles a lot of confidence in pulling the trigger on this and bringing us in a first rounder. And he just looked really sharp, and you can see him next year lining up with Jeremy McGovern down back, and we'd be pretty happy with that.
Fully confident in Harry Edwards going forward, which is a great spot for us. We don't need to touch on Barrass now because we can talk about it when we discuss player movement. Would have been nice to see him pull on the Guernsey one more time, but that's okay. And he'll always have the flag and that really great vision of him standing up on the fence with his hand to his ear with a cup in his hand, which I dug out recently to use. Jack Williams, for me, massive positive from this season. Looks like a player.
Huge.
Looks like he knows how to play footy and is also athletically gifted, and just has so much room to grow. Like, he's still growing into his body. He's still getting his head around playing, week in, week out. But it just showed signs every game. Sticky mitts, good kick, versatile, can play numerous roles, great size. So he looks like he's going to be, like, when we're back up and competing, it's going to be like Jack Williams. We can rely on him to go forward and kick 3, or we can play high up the ground and be a link man, or we can throw him down back if we need to. He's got some time in the ruck, which is bloody handy because finding someone who has forward craft and can ruck, very hard. So Jack Williams, big tick. We like him.
Yeah, I think the way you got to assess young players is, can you see them being a part of your next premiership squad? So when you are a top 4 side again, can you see these players being part of it? Jack Williams, I think we can clearly see that as a second ruck marking forward. Yeah, he's got all the potential. Whether he goes and delivers on it, there's still a question mark there, but one of the real finds of the season. The other 2 for me are Harvey Johnston and Ryan Marrick. Johnston, I think, a little bit more than Marrick, because I just don't think we quite know where Marrick's best football will be, either as a half forward or as a wingman. He's shown quality in both positions, but not necessarily nailed on in either. But the talent's there. Harvey Johnston's one that I think will really come on, considering it was his debut season, to show really strong signs late on. Again, I think we found one there. That was the word out of the Eagles recruiters that they think they've got a real gem here late in the draft. And
Pick 49.
he showed why. Showed why late in the
49.
season.
Yeah. Such a great get at 49. Again, like Williams, shows those little signs, like he knows what he's doing. And for someone his age, yeah, I'm a big fan. And I reckon you cottoned onto it maybe a week before me. But then just watching him really closely later in the season, yeah, it's really obvious that he can play. And in the end, they had to have him in the team, didn't they? He was a must pick because he was showing such great progress during that period. So great news for Harvey. I think Marek can kick and he's got some weapons. And so that potential is exciting. Let's just see where it sort of lands him in the team. Great to see McGovern have such a strong bounce back year, stayed fit, and, was back doing like Jeremy McGovern things, like still, despite advancing years, like there's no one who does it like him. And he's just such a valuable tool for us.
Does he make All-Australian?
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
We'll know the answer by the time you listen to this podcast. Yes,
that's true.
I want to get your prediction.
I would have him in my team. Okay. I wonder if Sam Collins gets the nod because they're like, Sam Collins should probably get All-Australian at some point because every year he's like rated the best defender defensively or, whatever it is. But I'd be having McGovern. If I was picking a team to play the Aliens, you're picking Jeremy McGovern, right? Like,
yeah. I think Andrews, Wiedering, this is his year, and then Harris Andrews makes it, and I just get the feeling Gov just gets squeezed out this year. Yeah. But I hope I'm wrong.
He's the easy one to leave out because West Coast are down the bottom of the ladder.
Yeah, and he's got 4 already.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, super year from Gov. I mean, we've talked about Jake so much. The bounce back from the debilitating illness and just being stuck behind every tall forward on the list for so long, to see him do that has just been so enjoyable as a West Coast fan. Like, really happy for him. And he's done it his way. And obviously he's an incredibly hard worker. That's the word from behind the scenes. So it's all panned out for him. Can he do it again next year? Can he maintain these high standards?
Yeah, I think he can. I don't see any reason why he won't. I mean, I know there's some people saying, oh, look, before he gets a fancy deal or whatever, let's see if he can back it up. I mean, it's not so much what he did this year, it's how he did it. Like, he was taking big contested marks in a team that was struggling. Like, if he got on the end and kicked 40 goals, the end of a few big wins, when the Eagles are a top 4 side, I'd say let's just hang on a little bit here. But the fact that he's done it at a team that's struggling, taking big pack marks, and winning one-on-one contests so often tells me that I have no doubt if he has a strong pre-season that he'll be even more dominant next season in a slightly better team. So, yeah, I'm very enthused on him. Liam Ryan, just seeing him back fit, there were some good moments, there were some inconsistent moments. Seeing him play on the ball a little bit, off half back, I think that was encouraging. Similar to Yowie, just great to see him back out there, getting over some of his injury struggles. Ruben Jimby, just watching him at halfback, I think that was a positive late in the season. I think we were frustrated with his development in the first half. Why isn't he playing on the ball more? Where's his best position? His kicking was a bit of an issue. But then in the second half of the year under Scoey, he really found his place at halfback. So I think that was a positive. Some of the frustrations from a player point of view, Drewy, I'll go with a couple and then you can pick up after that. I think Campbell Chess is the one that stands out. This is a first-round draft pick who I don't think progressed this season. He's out of contract next year. It is a massive year in his career, 2025, Campbell Chesser, and a massive year for the Eagles recruiters who were so bullish on him. We're happy to move down a couple picks in the draft to take him. We haven't seen anything yet. I know that he's been injured and his confidence has been down, but we need to see a lot more from him next year. I think in a season where we had some youngsters really come on, he plateaued at best.
Yeah, I think we just missed.
Possibly.
I think we just picked the wrong player. But I want him. I mean, I want him to go well. I like some of the tools that he has. I think I can see why we drafted him, but he hadn't played a lot of football and COVID, and he just hasn't been able to put it together. So, yeah, it's a massive year for him. He was disappointing this year. I'm not sure if it's going to pan out, unfortunately. Just quickly, Tyrell Dewar. I'm a big fan of of Dua Lipa. Has just got a few things that we can use, and I think he could also play half back. So I think was it one of the commentators that said he looks a bit like Lewis Jetta, the way he moves.
Yeah.
I like the potential for Tyrell going forward. Excited about what he can produce. What didn't I like this season? I didn't love Jack Petrocelli. When he played the Reed role a few times, was it when Harley was being rested or was he suspended or something? A couple of times he played the Reed role and I didn't mind it. But is it over? Like have we exhausted all options?
We've got to be shopping him around this trade period. Now, I don't know if there'll be too many takers, but there might be a Victorian club who says, okay, there's obviously talent there. We'll back ourselves to get the best out of him. And the Eagles should take, if it's a third round pick or whatever, I think it's just time. You know, it just hasn't worked out for him so far. He's still a player on the fringes after all these years. He's out of contract next year. So unless a shot out of the blue happens, you know, he's being delisted next year. So I reckon we take what we can now. It looks like he needs a fresh start somewhere. If there are any takers for him, and there might not be. Yeah, he's got speed. We know that he can kick a goal, but he just doesn't get the ball enough and doesn't do enough, and especially not in tough times. So I'd like to see the club move him on. If he doesn't, I mean, then it's make or if they don't, it's make or break for him next year. He's been a disappointment for sure. I mean, Dom Sheed again, just struggling to get on the park. That's an interesting one. It feels like he's stepping into Andrew Gaff from this year territory, where he's under contract next year, and there might not be any takers for him, and then he just sits there, and he's just a backup player collecting his money. And maybe he comes in for a few games, but maybe there's a club who's happy to take him and have a punt on an experienced midfielder because he's a bit more inside than Gaffy. But it feels like it's heading down the same path, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just I've almost sort of lumped them together in that sense, and this just extends out another year. Yeah, I don't know what you do with him. Like, honestly, I've got no idea.
Well, it's, you know, you could go to him and see, Gaff was on a lot more money than Sheed's on now. So you could go to him and say, listen, Dom, you're not in our plans. Now, you're going to play a lot of waffle footy unless we have an injury crisis. A lot of waffle footy like Andrew Gaff did this year. We're keen to trade you and look at those options. If you're open to that, we'll do everything we can to get you another club. If not, here is the money we're prepared to offer. It's less than what you will get if you stay with us, but you might choose to retire and go out collecting the sum rather than playing a lot of waffle footy. We're prepared to put that option to you. Or you stay on the list and, you know, you try your best to win a spot in the team. He probably takes the last option. Why wouldn't you? But he might say, oh, I don't want to sit in the waffle all season. I prefer to take a couple $100,000 less and retire now. I think that's probably the way we have to approach it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm at a loss with Dom because he's either injured or when he plays, he looks horrendous. So,
unfortunately,
it really sucks because he's kicked one of the most important goals in the club's history, but he hasn't really hit the heights that were expected of him. He wasn't in the team in 2018 until he's in and out until Gaff opened up that position late in the year. Yeah, love him. I just don't know what we do going forward. If he's on the list next year and he's happy to be a senior player, offering guidance, you know, clubman, pro, help with the young guys, don't make a fuss about playing waffle. And then if we can find a role for him that works and he plays occasionally, that's fine with me. But I just don't have I just don't have the solution. I've got no idea what they do. He needs the Jesse Hogan thing where it's like completely revamp the way he trains, the way he prepares, the way he prehabs, everything. and try and change something, because at the moment it's just not working. Disappointing, we didn't see a lot of Noah Long and any of Elijah Hewitt this season, but they are going to be plugged into our starting 22 next year, and I think provide us with a lot of excitement.
For sure. I mean, there's a worry on Hewitt and, just his injury problems, but hopefully he gets over them. If he does, I think we have just an awesome leader and a fantastic footballer. So, yeah, that was a shame that he missed the entirety of the season. Matt Flynn, also a disappointment, and the injury early on didn't help. But I think we were excited by the Flynn-Williams ruck combination, and it just never materialised. I don't understand why he didn't play in the last 4 or 5 weeks. It didn't make any sense. He's contracted for next season, so why? It's just hard to fathom that, but that hasn't quite, and for 2026, mind you, that just hasn't quite materialised the way that we would have liked. And the same with Jai Cully, who I think we all think there's a player there, but didn't play at all towards the end of the season. He's out of contract. The reports are that he gets another 1 year. Well, the reports out of Perth that he's getting a 1 year deal, that he's in talks for one. And whether he gets it or not, that was in the West, I think, this morning or yesterday. So whether he gets it, I'd like to see him get it. But then if he does, you've got to ask the question, why the hell did he not play in the final month? Like, what are we doing?
I mean,
if we don't give him one, well, then you understand where they're coming from. Might not be the right decision, but at least they analysed it in their minds accurately. If he gets another contract and play the last month, it is just so bemusing.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm struggling with it, to say, we should give him another year. It's like I've assumed that we're totally given up on him. So, mate, are they going to wait until after the draft?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, he want to know now, so then he can try get a deal somewhere. But I'd like to see us give him another year. I think he's shown enough. He was a rising star winner, then he did his knee, and we haven't given him a chance since. So
there's something about the Jai Cully.
Weird.
The Jai Cully situation is not, the story hasn't been told. There's something else.
I don't think they think he's too slow, but he can find the footy.
Yeah.
And in transition, he gets burnt a little bit, but I like to see him given another year and a crack at it. But anyway, Kobe Bagel, he's out of contract at the end of the year. Didn't really get a chance that we thought he would this season. So that's been disappointing. I guess he's in limbo a little bit, but probably gets another crack at it.
Rookie list, maybe.
So young. Yeah,
Rookie
maybe.
List.
Maybe. I think Jermaine Jones is gone. He's out of contract.
Gone.
I'll be shocked if he'll be delisted. And then I reckon one of Rotham or Witherden goes and one stays. I feel like we had this exact same conversation last season. Witherden would be ahead of Rotham because he played a lot more of the season and he's a better kick when he's confident, although he makes a lot of mistakes. We know that. I feel like Witherden gets another year or two and Rotham is delisted. That's my hunch, but both could be gone potentially.
I feel like Witherden gets another year. Yeah. I'm neither here nor there with Rotham. At this point, you're just plugging him into the back six through a need. I'm not really concerned. He's not going to be in the next flag. So.
And then the other two I want to ask you about, Luke Edwards has got the concussion issues. He's out of contract, so that's an interesting one. And Zane True, did he do enough to get another year or two for you, or will they cut him?
Well, I sat here and said how I thought he looked like an AFL player, and then they gave him the sarsaparilla out of the team. So he was obviously the one that didn't play his role against Carlton. Schofield had a blow up post game. Obviously, True didn't follow his instructions or whatever, so he got punished and dropped out of the team. So I think he gets another year, doesn't he? I think he shows enough. Or he showed enough.
Probably a 1 year deal.
Yes.
Yeah, you would think so. Luke Edwards, the concussion issues.
Sad.
Yeah, if that's the story, well then he just goes. Otherwise, again, maybe a rookie list deal, but he's really up against it, isn't he? He was given a lot of opportunities this season. It didn't feel like he took them.
No. I mean, I'm sad about the concussions.
Yeah.
Where was the Luke Edwards from that game against Richmond? Where the hell is he?
Yeah.
No idea. So, Barrass for a first round pick. The question is, what else do we get?
We probably get something else. I don't think it's going to be massive. I mean, I think
second or third.
Yeah, maybe something like that. I think a first rounder for Tommy is a pretty good return. There'll be a little bit of sweetener action, I think, but we can't be disappointed with that as the main part of the deal. That gives us just another great spot heading into the draft
Yes.
to be in, and some flexibility if we do want to trade for Liam Baker or Cozzy Pickett if he becomes available. I don't think Shea Bolton is an option. I'm sure you agree with that. I think that's just straight to Freo if he does end up going.
Yes.
But Baker and Pickett, if he starts to exit away from Melbourne even more, then that pick 12, I'm not saying we use it for them, but it just gives us a bit more flexibility.
Yeah, it puts us in the conversation for Pickett.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's quite the right time. Like, I feel like it's like Port Adelaide or Freo make a lot of sense for Kasaya. I don't know if we're giving up a first-round pick for him. The Baker thing is, to me, is fascinating. So his preference is to go to West Coast, but the Dockers have got the tools to get it done. Are the Eagles going to come to the party with and satisfy the Tigers enough? This is the hard thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So we should not be giving up pick 12 for Liam Baker.
Nah, he's worth pick 20.
Yeah. So what pick 12 does is allows us to feel better about giving up pick 23 or 24, whatever it's going to be. So maybe that's the move, or it's a future second rounder or something like that. It's probably pick 23 if we want him that badly. And then the fact that we've got that pick for Tommy Barrass means we feel so much better about giving up what would have been our second pick in the draft. So that should be it, not pick 12 for me. But I wouldn't be against pick 12 for Pickett or Bolton. I don't think pick 12 for Bolton is a conversation we can have, as I said. And you'd have to give a bit more because he Pickett than pick 12. But you're talking about a 23-year-old gun. You feel a bit better about that than you would giving it up for Baker.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. Not sure about Pickett. Melbourne said this morning he's homesick but hasn't asked for a trade. So let's see how that materialises over the next few weeks. So Jack Graham looks like he's coming, which strengthens our hand with Baker.
I think we have Graham and Baker. That's my feeling.
Yeah. Do Hawthorn offer Denver Granger Barrass as part of the Tom Barrass deal?
Isn't he out of contract and just unwanted?
Just done?
So
I could see us like throwing him a rookie lifeline or something.
Yeah.
So, but let's not allow Hawthorn to insert him into the trade as if he's like an asset.
No.
I don't want to see that. You know what?
But we can maybe squeeze him in so no one else picks him up and we just say, we're guaranteed to get him, as opposed to he goes to the draft and someone else nabs him before us.
You know what I would really like? I would like us to get Ben Hobbs. I wanted to draft him, and we drafted Chesser, and Ben Hobbs is starved of an opportunity. I think he's going to be a good player, but I don't know if we can make it happen given our priorities and then with Baker. But I'm just saying I would like it.
Yeah. Heatling, I think I would really like.
I would love Heatling.
So, there's a lot of clubs interested.
And rightly so.
The Giants are losing a bit of confidence in terms of being able to keep him. You know, a lot of this all depends on our coach as well. That's why it's, if you get the new coach and he's so and this, so and that, well, then it makes things easier. Right now, it's a little bit trickier for them to put it all together. Hobbs would be great, but I just don't see how we get that done at this stage. I want to go to the draft, ideally, with 3 picks inside 25. That would be, we feel really great about that. Now, if we give up 1 for Baker, okay. We've traded Tommy Barrass. I don't see any other player that we can trade for extra draft capital. Now, Liam Ryan's the one that's been mentioned. I can't see him wanting to accepting a move away. I can't see him leaving WA. I can't see him agreeing to it.
Yeah. Hawthorn would be Hawthorn better club?
Not sure who. I just can't see Liam saying, I'm happy to pack up my family and my life in WA and go live in Victoria. It just doesn't strike me as an option for him. I would,
if the dream scenario, if he's not playing for West Coast, is I'd love to see like Liam Ryan take a hanger on Anzac Day playing for Collingwood or something. That would be fun.
Yeah.
So just quickly, because
he's the one player though. He's the one player we've got a bit of currency with.
So we're running out of time. I just wanted to. I haven't spoken about this except with you, but I've been smashing the phone trying to get some information on the West Coast coaching situation. And I'm hitting so many freaking brick walls. It's unbelievable. And they're keeping it so tight. I even said to someone at the club at the Eagles yesterday, I was like, it's so tight and in-house right now. And he's like, yeah, finally something's staying in-house. But so I spoke to someone about Montgomery, and they said to me that nothing has progressed. And I wondered whether this would be an opportunity during the bye period before the finals for the Eagles to sort of make the next step with Montgomery. But the update was that I most recently have is that it hasn't. And then randomly, someone told me that Matthew Clark, our list manager, is interested in the job. And that is the only nugget that I can throw your way. That's all I have achieved over all those 50 phone calls. I've got not much else. But Matthew Clark, former coach of the AFLW Adelaide side, former list manager former recruiting manager at Richmond, and now West Coast list manager, has interest.
So yeah, it's interesting that there hasn't been names emerging.
Oh, the other thing,
as much as we thought.
Yeah, the other thing that someone said to me, which I think I said to you by text, was it's as if the Eagles have got something up their sleeve and they're about to shock everyone.
Yeah. So the only thing you can go, the only thing you can go with is that, the Damien Barrett piece. So they're confident that they can sway Dean Cox after the finals.
Yeah.
And that's it. Don Pike, I can't see Pike coaching. I just really don't see that happening. If he was desperate to coach, he would have done it last year. So I think it's probably Cox would be the one that we could see as a surprise come to the fore again.
Yeah.
Anyway, Drewy, we'll leave on that note. It's an interesting time. Great to wrap up the season. Maybe we'll take some questions on Twitter and do another pod with everyone's questions. But been an enjoyable one, mate. Watch the space regarding the West Coast Eagles. We're a club in action off the field, that's for sure.
The wheels are turning. Let's hope we get to a good destination. Good to chat.
Thanks, Nesters. Good chat. See you, mate.